Okay, so today we're going to be looking at solving equations containing parentheses. And in order to do this, we're going to use the distributive property. Today's lesson, I'm going to be using the graphic organizer that you would have gotten in class. If you didn't get it in class, it is on my website, and it's the Solving Equations Containing Parentheses graphic organizer. On the graphic organizer, you'll notice that you have steps listed down the right-hand side of the page. I don't, but I'll be referencing those steps as we go through the process. As always, the goal is to get that variable by itself on one side of the equal sign. Typically, we get that x variable by itself on the left-hand side, and we move everything else over to the right-hand, to the right-hand side. First step is always to change any subtraction signs that you see to plus the opposite. In this case, I don't have any subtraction signs. So my second step is going to use the distributive property. I'm going to take the number outside the parenthesis and I'm going to multiply it to each piece inside the parenthesis. So negative 2 times negative 4 is going to give me positive 8x. And negative 2 times 7, that plus sign doesn't look very good. Negative 2 times 7 is going to give me negative 14, and the equals 10 just comes down. It was over by itself on the right-hand side of the equal sign, so we don't have to do anything with it. At this point, it's just like the two-step equations that we have been doing. I'm going to move the piece first without the variable, so the 14, by adding the opposite to each side of the equation. So I'm going to add positive 14, and I'm going to add positive 14. The 8x comes down, so 8x equals 24. Now I'm going to move the piece that is with the variable by either multiplying or dividing. In this case, since the 8 is being multiplied times the x, in order to undo that, I'm going to divide each side by 8. 24 divided by 8 tells me in this case that x is going to equal 3. Last thing we have to do, as always, is we have to check. You have to check back in the original equation. So I'm going to be checking back in with the original parentheses. When I plug my answer back into my check, you'll notice that I put it in parentheses here. All that's doing is telling me that that's the number I put back into the equation. At this point, we're going to follow order of operations. Order of operations says to start inside the parenthesis and to do any multiplication or division first. So I have negative 4 times 3, which is negative 12. The plus 7 comes down, and it's all still going to equal 10. Still working inside the parentheses. Now I'm going to add those two numbers inside the parentheses together. That's going to give me negative 5. Negative 2. And now negative 2 times negative 5, that gives me positive 10. That equals the positive 10 that was on the right-hand side in my answer checks. And that's the end of the problem. And this is the basic process that we're going to be going through. I have one more problem to show you. I have to skip ahead some blank slides for a while. Alright, so here's our second problem. So again, the goal, just like normal, is to get that x value by itself. Change any subtraction we have to plus the opposite. In this case, we don't have any subtraction, so we can start right away with the distributive property. So 6 times negative 1x is negative 6x. 6 times 2 is 12, and that needs to equal negative 24. I'm going to move the piece without the variable first by adding the opposite to each side. So I'm going to add negative 12. So negative 6x equals negative 36 when I add the negative 4 and the negative 12 together. Now I'm going to get rid of the negative 6. That negative 6 is currently being multiplied to the x. In order to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide each side by negative 6. Remember, when we cancel with multiplication or division, we do not change the sign. So negative 36 divided by negative 6 is positive 6. Two negatives give us positive. And that's looking like our answer. In order to make sure that our answer is correct, we're going to go ahead and check it. We're going to plug it back in the original problem. Again, I plug the positive 6 in parentheses. So plus 2 equals negative 24. Checking using order of operations, multiplying in the parenthesis first, that's negative 6 plus 2 needs to give me negative 24. Add inside the parentheses and I get negative 4 equaling negative 24. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24, and therefore my answer checks. So that's 2 of these problems using the distributive property to solve the equations. All of the problems that you're going to practice or work on your homework are going to be just like these. They're going to follow those same basic steps. And again, those steps should be listed down the right-hand side of the graphic organizer for you. So that's the end of this lesson.